Hello, my name is Kyle Gleed. I'm part of the Cloud Foundation Technical Marketing team. And in this demonstration, I'm going to provide an overview on the VCF 5.2 to VCF 9.0 upgrade path. Let's begin our demonstration by looking at the lab environment that we will be using for the upgrade. Here from the SDDC Manager dashboard, we can confirm that we are running VCF version 5.2. In addition, from the VMware Aria Suite tab, we can confirm that I do have VMware Aria Suite Lifecycle installed. This has been deployed in VCF Aware mode. In addition, I have used the Aria Suite Lifecycle to deploy an instance of Workspace ONE Access, Aria Automation, and Aria Operations. In this environment, I have a single management domain. And switching to the vSphere client, we can see that the management domain is comprised of 6 hosts, and we can see the VMs that are deployed inside the domain to include my NSX Edge cluster. Switching to Aria Operations, we can see that my VCF instance is registered, and if we go to integrations, we can confirm that everything is connected and we are collecting metrics for all components. Switching over to the Aria Suite Lifecycle, we can see that I have 2 environments. The global environment, which contains my VMware Identity Manager, and then my Draper environment, which contains both Aria Operations and Aria Automation. In addition, we can confirm that we are running Aria Suite Lifecycle version 8.18. With the introduction of the lab environment, now let's look at the steps that we'll go through to perform a upgrade from 5.2 to 9.0. So here we can see we start by first patching the Aria Suite Lifecycle, and then we use that patch version of the Aria Suite Lifecycle to then upgrade our operations instance to 9.0, and as part of that we will deploy a new appliance called the Fleet Manager. We will then shift over to the SDDC Manager, where we will use it to perform an upgrade from VCF 5.2 to VCF 9.0. The SDDC Manager will take care of upgrading the SDDC Manager itself, the NSX instance, the vCenter instance, and the ESX cluster. And when we're done upgrading that, we will also upgrade the vSAN disk version and upgrade our VDS version as well. Once we have completed the VCF upgrade, we then return to Aria Operations, where we will do a quick replacement of a certificate that will then enable us to deploy the Operations Collector, which is another new component in VCF 9. We will then import our automation instance and upgrade it, and then when we're done, we will complete the upgrade by assigning a new license, a VCF 9 license, to the environment. So we're going to begin by applying a patch to the Aria Suite Lifecycle Manager. This is a patch 2, and what this patch will do is bring in the awareness so that we can use the Aria Suite Lifecycle to upgrade operations to version 9.0. So here at our Aria Suite Lifecycle, we need to apply the patch 2. To do that, we first need to make sure that we have the patch available, so navigating to binary mapping, under patch binaries, we confirm that we have uploaded the 8.18 patch 2, and it is available. With the patch available, we can now go into System Patches, and we can basically select New Patch, and select the patch, and apply it. Do note that when you apply the patch, it will reboot the appliance, and this is automatic, so be prepared for that. Once the appliance is done rebooting, give it a few minutes for the services to start, and then log back in. And then once we're logged back in, we'll just verify that we do have 8.18 patch 2. Returning to our overview slide, we have completed the first step, which is to patch the Aria Suite Lifecycle. Now that we have applied that patch, we can go ahead and proceed with the next step, which is to upgrade our Aria Operations to version 9.0. Note that when we upgrade Aria Operations, a new appliance will be deployed called the Fleet Manager. Back at our lab environment, we'll go ahead and go into Lifecycle Operations, where we can see under the Environments tab that I have 2 environments. Again, in my Draper environment, I have my Aria Operations and my Aria Automation. We can verify that both the automation and operations are running version 8.18. Before I can upgrade operations, I'll need to download two binaries. I'll need to download the upgrade package for operations that will be used to upgrade to 9.0, as well as a new OVA template for the Fleet Manager. To do this, I navigate to Settings, under Binary Management, and I click Add Binaries. Now I have used SCP to copy both these binaries up to the data directory on the Aria Suite Lifecycle, so I'll specify that data path and click Discover. Here we see both the binaries available. Again, the upgrade package that will upgrade us to Operations 9 and the OVA template that will deploy the new Fleet Manager appliance. So I'll simply add those and we'll wait for the request to complete. So with the request complete, we'll just come back and verify that we now see both the upgrade package and the Fleet Manager install package available to us. So now we're ready to proceed with our upgrade. Going back to our environments, under Operations, we will now select Upgrade. So it detects, based on the binaries we've uploaded, that version 9.0 is available and it has the path, so we'll take those defaults. We will select VMware Cloud Foundation as our license type and run a brief assessment. Verify the assessment has completed successful. Check the box that we agree to proceed. We will take a snapshot as part of the upgrade. That's always a best practice. Gives us a recovery point should something happen. Now I mentioned that as part of the upgrade we will deploy a new Fleet Manager appliance. So in this next section it's asking for the vCenter, the cluster, the network, the data store, and the disk mode. And then we have down below the name of the VM, we're going to call this Fleet, and the fully qualified domain name, the IP address that we assigned, and the settings for the admin and root password. Next, we provide our network information to include domain name, NTP server, DNS server, as well as gateway and IP netmask. With the inputs provided, we run a check. This is going to be a more extensive check, and it will take a few minutes to complete. Here we see that the check has completed and it was successful. There are no errors. Now note, I do have a couple of warnings. These warnings are unique to my lab environment and they're things that I know I can safely ignore. In a production environment, of course, you'd want to make sure that everything passes and you don't have any errors or warnings. So we'll go ahead now and proceed with the upgrade. The upgrade begins by taking the operations cluster offline. It will then perform the upgrade and then bring the cluster online. Once it's done with that, it will then proceed to deploy the OVF template. So returning back to our vSphere client, we can see that new Fleet appliance being deployed and powered on. And then returning back to our Aria Suite Lifecycle, we can verify that the upgrade has completed. Now obviously I have sped this up for the demo, but you can see there are 15 stages and all stages have completed successfully. Now with the upgrade complete, when I go back to environments, you'll notice a change here because in the Draper environment I no longer see operations listed. I just have the VMware Aria automation, and that is because as part of the upgrade the operations was deregistered from the Aria Suite Lifecycle and registered with the new Fleet Manager appliance that was deployed and is registered with the new VCF Operations 9. Switching to our upgraded VCF Operations instance, we'll go ahead and log in. And we'll begin by first verifying that we are in fact running version 9. We can see that we have the new Fleet Management section inside of the UI. And if we go to Administration, we can confirm that under Integrations, we are connected to our Cloud Foundation instance, and we are collecting metrics for all components. With the VCF Operations upgrade complete, let's return to our overview slide, where we see the next step is to connect to the SDDC Manager and to download the SDDC Manager update bundle. So currently we're running SDDC Manager version 5.2. So we'll start the VCF 9 upgrade by first upgrading the SDDC Manager to 9.0. And in order to do that, we'll need to make sure we have the bundle available. Switching back to our lab environment, here the SDDC Manager is connected using the online depot. As such, we are automatically notified when we have new updates available. going to the Lifecycle Management and selecting SDDC Manager, we can see that we are notified that there is an available update, and this is the 9.0 update, and that is available for download. We can see here that it's about 2 gig in size. So we'll go ahead and just click on the download, and that will initiate the download. Switching back over to our overview. Once we have downloaded the update, the next step is to upgrade the SDDC Manager. So to upgrade the SDDC Manager, we can continue from where we left off by clicking Run Pre-Check. This will go out and check the management domain, looking for any issues that might prevent a successful upgrade. You'll want to make sure this is completed successfully. Here in the lab environment, I do have an error, and again, this is unique to my lab environment, and we'll just go ahead and ignore that for purposes of the demonstration. But you will want to make sure you have a successful pre-check. And so with the pre-check complete, we click Update Now, and it will go ahead and upgrade the SDDC Manager. Now, because we're upgrading the SDDC Manager, we lose the UI and we lose access to the SDDC Manager during the upgrade. Note that during the upgrade, it will reboot the SDDC Manager appliance, and when that happens, you will need to reconnect. So once the upgrade is complete, we can log back into the SDDC Manager, where we can go to the version and verify that it has been upgraded to version 9.0. In addition, going back to Lifecycle Management, looking at the SDDC Manager, it now shows us that the current version is 9.0, and this is the latest version available. In addition, we can also review the update history. Here we can see the recent upgrade to version 9, and we can view the details to include seeing that it took about just a little over 23 minutes to complete the upgrade. With the SDDC Manager upgrade complete, let's go back to our overview slide where we see the next step is to then download the additional upgrade binaries for NSX, vCenter, and ESX. So when we upgrade from VCF 5.2 to VCF 9.0, we move away from the concept of a bundle to binaries. So here you'll see under binary management, we're able to download the actual binaries as opposed to the bundles that we would have used in previous versions of VCF. Here we can see from the upgrade binaries, we already have the SDDC Manager as we just completed that upgrade. So let's go ahead and select the remaining binaries for ESX, NSX, and vCenter and download those. And these are the upgrade binaries that will be used to upgrade the existing components inside the management domain to 9.0. In addition to the upgrade binaries, we can also download the install binaries. These are the binaries that will be used when we deploy new workload domains, along with any patch binaries that are available. With the binaries downloaded, we're now ready to move on to the next step, which is to upgrade NSX. Note that for this next part of the upgrade, the SDDC Manager is going to orchestrate the upgrade for us. So coming back to the SDDC Manager and going up to our workload domain and selecting our management domain, we can see here that we're notified that we have updates available. And so we'll go ahead and click the Updates tab, where we scroll down and we can see that we have identified our target version being 9.0, and we have an upgrade plan that's comprised of 4 steps. Looking at the details, we can see step 1 was to upgrade the SDDC Manager, which has already been complete. We're now on step 2, which is to upgrade the NSX Manager. So we'll go ahead and close this, and we can see here that the NSX update is queued and ready to go. And so we can go ahead and proceed with configuring the update. So we'll click on Configure Update and follow the prompts to proceed with configuring the update. With all the inputs provided, we run a pre-check. Here we see the pre-check has completed. We can view the details, and we can see there are no errors. There are 3 warnings. So we'll go ahead and go back to the updates, where we can now schedule the update. So when we schedule the update, we basically just follow the prompts. We specify if we want to upgrade now or schedule it for some time in the future, and we verify that we have looked at the pre-check and we are ready to proceed with the update. And so the update will be scheduled, and shortly after it's scheduled, it will go into the in progress state, and then we can view the status. And here we can see that it's in progress. Alright, so obviously I've sped this up for the demo. It took an hour and 48 minutes to complete the NSX upgrade, and we can see that it upgraded both the NSX upgrade coordinator, the management cluster, as well as our edge cluster. All updates have been completed successfully. With the NSX upgrade completed, we're now ready to move on to the next step, which is to upgrade our vCenter server. And again, the SDDC manager is going to guide us through this process, so all we need to do is just follow the SDDC manager orchestration. So coming back, we can see now we have 3 remaining updates, and if we scroll down, we can see that the next up is our vCenter server update. That the vCenter update has already been, the binaries are queued and available and ready to go. So we'll go ahead now, and following the same steps we did before, we begin by configuring the update, answering the questions, and here it's going to make sure we have a backup of our vCenter server. And we specify whether we're going to do an automatic IP assignment for the temporary network or whether we're going to manually assign an IP address. So this is the way we do the vCenter upgrades, is we basically are going to deploy a second vCenter appliance with the new version with a temporary IP address. We're then going to copy the configuration from the current vCenter instance into this new upgraded instance, and after that copy is complete, we will then shut down the old instance, reconfigure the networking on the new instance to take over the identity of the original appliance and bring that up. So we're going to basically swap out the vCenter server as part of the upgrade, and this is basically asking how am I going to handle that temporary network, and we're just going to use DHCP, so we'll leave it on the automatic option. And then we go ahead and schedule the window. So again, we can schedule this for a future point in time, or we can do it right away. In addition, when we get ready to do that switchover where we're going to shut the vCenter down and move the identity to the upgraded appliance, do we want to schedule that or do that automatic? We're going to do both of these immediately, and we're just going to have that switchover be automatic. And we'll go ahead, review, and click Finish. And here we see that the update is scheduled. And in a few minutes it will go to we see that it goes to the in progress state, and then we can view the status. So here again, I've sped things up for the demo. It did take an hour and 25 minutes to complete the upgrade, but you see that it has now deployed the new vCenter server and switched it over, so we have upgraded our vCenter server instance. Coming back to our overview, now that we have upgraded our vCenter server, the next step is to upgrade our ESX cluster. To upgrade the ESX cluster, there's one prerequisite here. So because we're using vSphere Lifecycle Manager or VLCM images, we will need to make sure that we have an image available in our vCenter server. So we begin our upgrade by logging into our vSphere client, where we can go to the cluster and select Updates. And here we can see that we're currently assigned the ESXi version 8.0 update 3. That's the image we have assigned. So we need to have a 9.0 image that we can assign to this cluster. And to create that 9.0 image, we're going to go into the menu, down to Lifecycle Manager. And here we're going to start by going to Software Depot, where we're going to go to Actions and import an update, where we will go out and select the 9.0 ESX depot that's available to us. So with the depot available, we can now go to the image library and create an image using that ESX9 version. So I'm just going to call this ESX90GA. I'm going to select that 9.0 depot and go ahead and validate. So with the image validated, we'll go ahead and save it. Okay, so we have successfully created our ESX 9.0 image. So with the image created in vSphere, the next step is to import this into the SDDC manager. So we'll return to the SDDC manager. We're under Lifecycle Management. We'll go to Image Management. Here you'll see we currently only have the 8.0 update 3 image available inside of the SDDC manager, so we need to import the image. It will go out, connect to our vCenter server. It will see that, hey, yes, we did go out and create that new 9.0 image, so let's go ahead and import that. And we can go ahead and monitor progress by opening up the task pane where we can wait for it to complete. Here we see that image has been successfully imported. So with the ESX90 image available, we can now go ahead and go back to our workload domain. Under Management, go to Updates, where we can see that our ESX update is queued and ready to go. So we'll go ahead and do the configure update. We specify the cluster. In this example, we only have one cluster. If we had multiple clusters, note we'll be able to select to either do all clusters at the same time or maybe just do one of the clusters. Say if I have to spread them out across multiple maintenance windows, for example. We'll go ahead and do all clusters. Here's where we assign the image. So we'll select a cluster and assign the image. And again, this is the image that we just imported. And we'll go ahead and select the 9.0 image. Click Next. Accept the defaults here and click Next. It will run a pre-check, and so we'll wait for the pre-check to complete. Okay, here we see there are no issues found with the pre-check, so we'll go ahead and schedule the update. And we'll go ahead and kick it off. We're going to do upgrade now and confirm that we have verified compatibility and compliance, and we are safe to proceed. And just as we saw before with the SDDC manager, it is scheduled and then it will go into in progress once it starts, and we can view and monitor the status here from the SDDC manager. Now, because we're using vSphere Lifecycle Manager, what happens is the SDDC manager is going to do call out to vSphere, and we're going to actually use vSphere to perform the upgrade. So here you'll see it's already started the upgrade. We see 6 hosts are non-compliant, and it will basically go through the process of reaching out to DRS, identifying which host to start with. In this example, host 3, place it into maintenance mode. It will then install the update. It will then reboot the host. Once the reboot's complete, it will take it out of maintenance mode, and then it will go back and check the compliance, make sure the update was completed successfully, and then it will go on to the next host. And we'll basically see that process repeated. So we did host 3, now we'll move on to host 4. And I'm just clicking through. I've sped this up in the demo, of course. Each host, how long it takes will depend in part on what type of hardware you're using and how long it takes to reboot, of course. So we've done host 3 and 4. Then we'll go on to 5. Then it goes up to host 1, host 2, and then finally host 6. Okay, we see now all 6 hosts have completed, and so vSphere Lifecycle Manager, or VLCM, has basically updated all 6 hosts with the new image. So if we come back here to our SDDC manager, we can see the update took about 46 minutes to complete and has completed successful, and we see everything's there. Now you'll notice here we do have this banner here with 8 errors, and you may be wondering what that's all about. Well, if we expand that out, essentially what it's saying is as part of the upgrade from version 8.x to 9, we reset to evaluation mode for the licensing. So this is basically just these error messages are essentially just a warning or informational thing to let us know that, hey, you've upgraded, now you need to relicense the environment, and we will get to that step later. So you do have 90 days to complete the licensing. So for 90 days you will get this warning until you complete the licensing. So with that, returning back to our Updates tab, we can now confirm that we have completed all 4 of our steps. So we have completed steps 1, upgrade the SDDC manager. We then download the binaries, then we completed step 2, which is upgrade NSX, and then we moved on to step 3, which is upgrade vCenter, and then step 4 was to upgrade our ESX host. And these 4 steps are all specific to the management domain. So if I had other domains in my environment, I would need to go through and repeat steps 2, 3, and 4 for each domain. Okay, so with this update, with the upgrade completed, you'll notice down here we do have a configuration drift update, so we'll go ahead and apply that. And this will just be a real quick update that will just go out and apply some configuration changes. Okay, so with that applied successfully, we have now successfully upgraded our environment. And you can see that that's basically showing us that we're done, the plan is complete, and we're now running version 9 across the board. So our vCenter server, our ESX cluster, our NSX version, as well as our vCenter version. Everything is running version 9.0. Once we've completed our upgrade from the SDDC manager, it's important to remember that there are other components inside the software stack that will need to be upgraded as well. So for example, if we come here to our vSphere client and we go out to our configuration tab for the cluster and we scroll down to our vSAN disk, you can see that the vSAN disk group has a version, and it's basically saying all 12 disks are currently at version 20, and so we need to upgrade it to 21. So we'll go ahead and do that by doing a pre-upgrade check and verify that's successful, and then do the upgrade. This is an in-place upgrade. It doesn't require any downtime, but it may be something you'll want to schedule. You get this notice here that once it's started, it can't be stopped, and once you do the change, there's no rollback feature. So it's something you'll want to make sure you're ready for when you do the upgrade. I'm just going to show here what that upgrade looks like. I sped this up. It took probably about 5 minutes in this lab environment, but you'll see now all my disks are running version 21. So we've completed the vSAN disk group version upgrade. Now, in addition to the vSAN disk group version, we have our VDSs, and if we expand this out, you see in this environment I have two VDSs, 01 and 02. These have a version as well, and you'll see when I click on this, it's currently running 8.0.3. So we'll go ahead and upgrade it to 9.0 by coming up and choosing the upgrade option. And we'll repeat that for the second VDS as well. Okay, so switching back over to our overview slide here, we see we completed the ESX upgrade, and then we also went ahead and upgraded our VDS version and our vSAN disk version as well. So next up in the upgrade, we're going to leave the SDDC manager. We're done there, and now we're going to shift over to VCF operations. And in VCF operations, what we need to do is we need to replace our certificate. So when VCF operations was first deployed, the certificate does not contain the private key that's required to allow it to install additional components. So we're going to replace that certificate, and then we're going to use that VCF operations to then deploy additional components. So let's go ahead and replace the certificate on our VCF operation. To do that, we're going to log into our VCF operations instance. We're under Fleet Management. We can see certificates. Now, before you can automate the updating of certificates, you will need to configure a certificate authority. So here you'll see I have set up a Microsoft Certificate Authority here in my lab. And since it's already set up, we'll go ahead and use it. And then down here, you'll see I got my VCF operations. There's a root certificate and a TLS certificate. We want the TLS certificate, so I'll select that. And I'm going to go ahead and generate a CSR. CSR is a certificate signing request. You'll see that was pretty quick. And then once I have that, I can go ahead and use that certificate signing request to replace their certificate. So I'm going to go ahead and just use the UI to do that. You'll see it kicks off a workflow. And then the workflow, I sped it up here in the demo. It takes about 2 minutes or so. And then once it's done, we'll refresh because it does take a little bit of time for the UI to update with the new certificate information. But you'll see here, we have updated our certificate. So originally it was on August 5th. Now it's on August 7th. So with the certificate replaced, we're now ready to use VCF operations to now deploy the VCF operations collector. So again, another new appliance that must be deployed following your VCF 9 upgrade. So coming back to here, we'll go into Lifecycle, and under Lifecycle, we're going to come here to Lifecycle, and under Lifecycle, we'll see here under VCF Operations, we can manage that VCF Operations instance, and you'll see the option here to add nodes. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to proceed with adding additional node to VCF Operations. So it's going to prompt us for information about the vCenter server, the data center, and this information is where are we going to deploy this new node, along with the networking information, and then the components. So here you'll see we do have several components already deployed. We're just going to leave those existing components in place, and what we're going to do is we're going to click on the plus here next to components to add a component, and we're going to be adding a cloud proxy. So when we talk about a VCF collector appliance, it's the same thing as the cloud proxy. So we'll collect the cloud proxy, and then you'll see it asks for additional information here. I'm going to call this the collector, give it a fully qualified domain name, IP address, and specify the size. And we'll go ahead and run a pre-check. The pre-check has passed, so we're now ready to proceed with the deployment. And you'll see it will go out, and here again it's going to take the cluster offline and bring it back online, and then once it's done that, it will go out and deploy the OVF template. So switching back over to our vSphere client, we can see it's now deploying this collector appliance. Okay, and returning to Lifecycle, we can verify that the request completes successfully. Okay, so with the operations collector deployed, we can come back to our operations instance, select manage, go to the topology, and here we can see that in addition to our primary and replica server, we now have the cloud proxy. And again, we can see that running here inside of our management domain. So with the collector deployed, we're now ready to move on to the Aria automation upgrade. So this is a two-step process where we're first going to begin by importing the Aria automation, which you'll remember is running 8.18 and is currently registered with the Aria Suite Lifecycle. And we'll import that into our VCF Operations 9, and then we'll use VCF Operations Lifecycle to then upgrade it to VCF Operations version 9. So switching back to our VCF operations, we can see here under the Lifecycle section of Fleet Management, under the Overview tab, where we have automation. Currently it's listed as not added, so we're going to import our Aria automation into our VCF Operations 9 by clicking the Add button. Okay. You'll see here I have several options. I can either do a new installation, I can import, or I can import from a legacy fleet management. So because we have the Aria LCM and the Aria automation is registered with that, we're going to choose the import from legacy fleet management. And if you'll remember here in our Aria Suite Lifecycle, in our Draper site, we have the Aria automation, and it's currently running version 8.18. So we're going to import this into VCF Operations 9. So we go ahead and we provide the information for the Aria Suite Lifecycle Manager, as well as the login credentials and the password. It will basically identify the site, and we confirm the site we want to pull from, and then the information about the import. So we got several warnings here. You'll want to read through those, make sure you understand those. Those are just to kind of make sure you understand the implications of importing the environment from the Aria Suite Lifecycle. So we'll go ahead and submit, and it will basically go ahead and proceed with the import. Now this import is going to be a two-step process. You'll see here we're doing step 1 here, and then when this is done, when we return to the task, it kicks off another request that has 4 stages, and we'll need to wait for that to complete as well. And so now if we return to our task, we see both have completed, and if we go to our Overview tab, we see we now have VCF automation as a new deployment. So the next step now is to upgrade. So to do the upgrade, we're going to go here to Manage, and here you'll see it's currently running 8.18. Now, in order to upgrade it, we first need to make sure we have the upgrade binaries available. So if we go to Binary Management, you'll see here that the automation upgrade binaries have not yet been downloaded, so we're going to go ahead and download those. And with those binaries downloaded, we'll go to the Components tab, and here you see we have the option to plan our upgrade. So you see here it's identifying that operations is running 9, automation is running 8.18. We're going to do an upgrade of automation, so we're going to plan the upgrade. We're going to specify that we want automation to go to version 9. We're going to create the plan, and then here you'll see the plan goes into a pending state, and we can click on the upgrade to begin the upgrade process. So there are some details about the Aria automation upgrade that you'll want to be familiar with, particularly around cloud accounts and integrations. And so there's a KB here you want to be familiar with. So this checkbox is just making sure that you've read this, you've paid attention to it, and you've consulted that KB and taken care of any issues that may need to be taken care of as related to that. In addition, you will need to do an inventory sync before you can do the upgrade. It's going to require that, so we'll trigger the inventory sync. And then once that sync is complete, we can proceed with the upgrade. Okay, and so here you'll see it's going to walk us through the UI to basically go through, and it's going to populate with the information it learned from the Aria Suite Lifecycle and what it knows about the deployment, so we don't have to provide that information twice. It will then prompt us for networking information we can provide, and then we'll go through and ask us about the components that we want to upgrade. So here we've got the auto.vcf.sdc lab. We select the certificate we want to use along with the associated password. And then we're going to use the same load balancer, so we'll continue to use the same load balancer. In addition, it's going to deploy some new VMs, so it's asking us for the prefix for those VMs. It's asking us for the primary virtual IP address as well as the internal CIDR. So you see here, we're going to deploy everything on the 192.168.11 network. We're going to use a 192.18 as that internal CIDR. And then as far as IP addresses, it's going to take 11.82, 11.83. So those are the existing components. It's going to use those IP addresses, and then it's going to shut those down, and it's going to ask for additional range of IP addresses for the new nodes. It's going to deploy the new 9.0 nodes. So I'm going to give it the .85 to .90. So I provide this information. We do the validation. Once the validation is complete, we proceed with the upgrade. This process takes about a little over 2 hours, about 2 hours, 15 minutes in this lab. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to the end, but you'll see all 17 stages have completed successfully. And now if we come back to our Overview tab, we can see the automation. And if we go to Manage, we can confirm that it is running 9.0. Coming back to our VCF client, you'll notice that it took the old VCF automation 8.18 and it powered those appliances off, and it deployed 3 new appliances with 9.0. So it left those old appliances behind as a recovery point. So when I'm log into automation and I'm comfortable that the upgrade completed successfully, I can come back and delete these old appliances. So we have successfully upgraded our environment, and we have an overview of the 13 steps we have gone through. Now, as part of this upgrade, it did switch everything over to evaluation licenses. So the last step in the puzzle here is to go ahead and to relicense the environment for VCF 9. So to do that, we're going to come back here, and you'll see here we do have this warning about expired licenses. And so if we go ahead and look at the licenses in our vSphere client, we can see that we are in fact in evaluation mode, and we do have 90 days to complete the licensing. We want to make sure we take care of that. So we'll go ahead now and we'll license the environment. So to do that, we come back to VCF operations, and we'll go down to licensing. So under license management, there's a registration option. And so the customer experience will vary slightly from what I'm showing here. As an employee, I don't have access to the business services console, so my experience is a little bit different because I use test licenses. But anyways, the high-level overview is I'm going to use the disconnected mode. And so I first start by downloading a registration file, and you'll see that file gets downloaded here. And then I'm going to go out to the business services console, and this is where the experience will vary because what the customer will see is different than what you're seeing here. But I'll go ahead and I'll add that license to the business service console. I'll assign my licenses, and then I'll generate a license file, and then I'll download that license file. So here I'm downloading the license file for my lab environment. The customer will download a license file as well. The UI will look a little different, but the concept is the same. So then we come back here to the registration. After we have downloaded our license file, we will import it. So here I'll go out and browse, and I'll select that license file that I've imported, and I'll import that. And with the license imported, we see the details. And so in this license, I got both my core VCF license as well as my vSAN add-on license. So now I can go ahead and go into the licenses. Okay, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to select my vCenter instance. I'm going to assign the primary license, and I'm going to select that license and assign it. And then I'm going to go ahead and select it again and assign the add-on license. This is my vSAN add-on license, and assign that. And you'll see once I've done that, I no longer have the banner up here about licensing. We go back to the vSphere client where we're looking at the current licenses. We'll do a refresh. You'll see it switches from evaluation to an actual license because I now license this with VCF 9. All right, and so with that, we have completed the licensing of our environment, so we're now up and running, and so the remaining tasks will vary based on the customer as you move into the post-upgrade tasks, such as are they going to deploy an instance of VCF logs? Are they going to deploy an external VIDB broker? Are they going to configure VCF SSO and enable vCenter leaking, or are there any other components such as VCF ops for networks, HCX that they want to deploy? Those would all be steps that would now follow the upgrade. All right, so this completes our overview of the VCF 5.2 upgrade path to VCF 9.0. So just to recap at a high level, when you have VCF 5.2 running with the Aria suite deployed in VCF Aware mode, you begin the upgrade by first patching the Aria suite Lifecycle Manager. You need that 8.18 patch 2. And then you use that patched version of the Aria Suite Lifecycle Manager to then upgrade ops. And when you upgrade ops from version 8.18 to version 9, it's going to deploy a new appliance called the Fleet Management Appliance. Once those two steps are done, we then shifted gears over to the SDDC Manager, where we started by downloading the SDDC Manager 9.0 update bundle, and we updated the SDDC Manager to version 9. Once SDDC Manager was on version 9, we then went in and downloaded the binaries for the remaining SDDC components to include NSX, vCenter, and ESX. We downloaded those binaries, and then we went and we let the SDDC Manager kind of guide us through the process of upgrading NSX, upgrading vCenter. We then upgraded ESX. Remember, when we upgraded ESX, we had to first go out to the vSphere client and create that new 9.0 image inside of VLCM and then import that into the SDDC Manager. And then we were able to go ahead and proceed with upgrading the ESX host in our vSphere cluster. Once we upgraded the components using the SDDC Manager, we then went into the vSphere client and we upgraded our vSAN disk version and we upgraded our VDS switch versions to 9.0. And then once we completed that upgrade, we then shifted gears back into VCF operations. We went in and we replaced the VCF operations certificate. So it has a new certificate that has a private key that enables us to now use VCF operations to deploy the operations collector. Once the collector was deployed, we then imported the Aria automation version 8.18, and we then upgraded that to VCF automation version 9. Once we completed that upgrade, we then went in and we used the offline licensing to then download a license file and assign that license file and license our environment for VCF 9. Hope you have found this demo helpful, and thank you very much.